Hi everybody, I hope that you're all doing well. I wanted to start, before we get into the reading, to just extend a very genuine, grateful thank you to everyone. Thank you for all of the ways that you contribute to the channel. Thank you everybody who has donated. I read the messages, so I just wanted to say a very, very big, genuine thank you. It is very much appreciated. It allows all of this to continue and it is well received, so thank you. This is going to be a reading, a collective reading. I don't put zodiac signs on collective readings. I feel like both the collective readings and also the zodiac readings can be seen as being important. Why I do some readings without putting zodiac signs on them is because we do ultimately have all of the zodiacs, and I think sometimes labeling with the zodiacs on the reading can deter people from connecting with readings that otherwise they would be resonating with if they weren't seeing something and saying, I don't think that I have that in my chart, or I'm not a so-and-so sun sign, and then people don't end up watching the readings and it may have messages in there. So that is where the collective readings come from. It's a, I think, statement of inclusivity on my end. We're starting off with the Queen of Swords, and we also have the Ten of Wands here. And we have the Six of Pentacles. And we have Strength. You know, I actually just read something that I feel like really embodies the energy of the Strength card, which I think that I can look this up because it really like embodies my understanding of the Strength card. I hope that I took a screenshot of this. Just give me a moment. Let me look for it. Give me a second. Before we get into that though, having Queen of Swords here and having Ten of Wands, if there's stuff that you're doing where you feel like there's a lot going on, if there are a lot of things that are feeling kind of stressful, you have a lot to do, now can be a time where you look at that and see if there's any problem solving that you need to do. If there's anything you need to take a closer look at, this can be, am I putting too much on my plate? Am I skating on thin ice here? Do I need to delegate? Do I need to maybe prioritize something over another thing? Do I need to share the weight here? Do I need someone else to share the weight with me? And to honor that for yourself. When we have Ten of Wands, we can feel almost like we are at capacity. Like, I'm giving as much as I can right now, and Queen of Swords is the part of you that can look into that and beyond the emotions of, I feel like I should be doing even more, when really you're at your limit. This can be a time where Queen of Swords is the part of you that's going to look at this and say, okay, you've done enough, or you're doing too much, or we need to dial this back, or you can do this much for right now, but in an hour you need to slow down a bit. It's going to be something of that nature, just to make sure that you're not running out of fuel here and then surprised at that point when it happens. This is to allow more sustainability. And having Strength is going to be about honoring that. Let me just look up this thing so I can read about Strength, just to give context. I know that I saved it somewhere, so just give me one moment. I'm going to find it. Yes. Okay, this says, just give me a minute because it's not all exactly about that. So in the image, it is the green lion of alchemical tradition, which I see as being the lion that's on here. It says, often representing vitriol, a corrosive and transformative force central to the magnum opus. The lion crowned with laurel denotes the mastery of raw, untamed energies of nature, where primal instincts are purified and elevated through the alchemical process. Vitriol acts as the agent dissolving impurity and ignorance, refining the primal material into its truest essence. And so, that being said, strength, I believe, one of the interpretations of it is working with that raw essence of your nature, honoring that and figuring out how to get that in its purest form, rather than having it take you over, rather than feeling like you're taken over by your impulses or your nature and you just lose all a sense of control. This is about working sort of with the platform that you have, working with the ingredients that you have, and then figuring out where to go from there, where that's being incorporated, rather than saying, I'm trying to make something completely different with ingredients that I don't have. Having the strength is about honoring the ingredients that you do have within yourself and figuring out how to make that work given this situation, and I think what you're trying to accomplish, and how to make that the best it can be. Right? Like, if we're all different flowers, it's about honoring the flower that you are and being the best version of that, rather than trying to be a different type of flower that isn't even, that ends up being this like ignoring of your own nature and of your own essence. So I think there's also this honoring of individuality within that, which is also, this is connected with Leo, it's connected with our heart, it's connected with the sun. It's connected with our core, it's connected with our soul expression. And so to honor that and to purify it as it is, while you're also honoring rather than ignoring your nature and then not able to understand why it's not complying. This is about working hand in hand with it through the honoring, through the recognition of it. And so there can be some type of situation that may feel difficult to maneuver within, nonetheless honoring yourself through it and finding a way to make this work. Queen of Swords is the part of you that can look at what's making things so difficult, why are things feeling so stressful, or why is all of this energy being exerted? Is there something that there needs to be, do I need to take a closer look at this for some reason? I feel kind of like there's an inquiry going on. With the Ten of Wands, feels like something is happening and it feels like it uses a lot of your energy. So if something is utilizing an abnormal amount of energy, it looks like Queen of Swords is the part of you that's going to look into that and say, what's going on here? Why is that happening? Because I know that there's an imbalance here. So let me look at that and see what's going on. And there's going to be a checking back with your value system, which naturally things are sustainable when that system is being honored. And then strength is about purifying this and honoring that, I think, to restore balance, to bring back balance. I am seeing the Tower on the bottom of the deck, and so this feels like if this energy goes unchecked, this is something that can very much tip over if it has not already, and then leave you kind of scrambling. And I think this can possibly be avoided if the Tower has not happened yet. Social arrangements, social gathering, social things in general, feels like this is a big part of it. Social expectations. This can also be relationship stuff as well. Friendships and whatnot. I think something got to be too much. Why is that though? Why did something start feeling like it was too much? Why was something starting to feel too stressful? It feels like there was, like, honestly, a lack of reciprocity here. I know we talk about values all the time, but many of us have relationships, and so this is something that's very relevant. When we get the balance right, it doesn't feel exhausting. Or we don't feel like we're left doing all of the heavy lifting. So this can be, the Queen of Swords is the part of you that's going to be looking at, it looks like relationships. This looks like more so social relationships. So this can be like family relationships, or this can be friendships and whatnot. It doesn't feel like even with, it has to be one specific person. This is something that can be applied to everybody, but it is sure, it can be one person where you're like, yeah, this relationship in general, something is going on within it, and it feels like there's too much pressure where it's supposed to be fun and we're connecting. Why am I feeling overwhelmed by this consistently? And what do I need to understand in order to move forward and feel like the pressure is lessening and feel like there's balance there? And having Six of Pentacles, it feels like that is actually the key to this. Like, you're learning more about your values. You're learning more about what resonates with you and what doesn't. The thing that comes up, I feel commonly as an example when we're talking about situations like this, is that sometimes relationships can feel confusing because if you're showing up and you're putting something on the scale and you need the other person to show up and put something particular on the scale, as we all do, because we have different things that hold meaning to us and different things that hold value to us. If you have somebody showing up and putting something on the scale, but it doesn't hold any weight for you, there can be confusion sometimes where we need to look more closely at it, because it's not like they're showing up empty-handed, but as far as what they're showing up with, it may not hold meaning for you, and so it doesn't feel like that reciprocity is there. It doesn't feel like it holds any weight, and so you're still getting stuck carrying all of the weight, because whatever it is that you would need for there to be a relationship there, those qualities aren't there. So this is bringing more to light about your own values, which values are part of like what needs to be happening here when I show up, what needs to be part of this process for me to feel like it's worth it to me. Like, this is a good use of my time, a good use of my energy. Like, this is something that like I feel appreciated by, or where I'm getting something from that. And it's not all about that. It's about understanding the mechanism behind it, which is, if you are putting something on the scale and the other person is not putting something a weight on the scale, it's not going to be sustainable, and you will be left feeling like this. And then you will hit a tower because of that, because you only have so much energy. You need something that will feed you back. If you're doing something, you need energy in order to do the thing. But if you're not getting something that's fueling you, which that's what the relationship is, it needs to be symbiotic or it's not going to be sustainable. If that's not happening, you're going to run out of that fuel and you'll have nothing left to give anymore, and it's going to feel like too much. So what's coming to light is about your own values. And this can be something that maybe is in the process of changing. You're looking at something and you're like, this doesn't feel the way that it used to, or why is this relationship stressing me out all of a sudden? Or why am I feeling overwhelmed all of a sudden? Or why do I feel like I'm the only one that's putting in effort or putting in energy? And it's about understanding relationship dynamics, which is exactly what's coming to light here. I feel like you're seeing this quite clearly. And I think too that this part of having strength here is honoring the individual differences. This can be an issue of compatibility. It doesn't mean that somebody's not showing up with anything at all. It can mean that it doesn't hold value for you. It doesn't hold weight for you. But they may show up and bring that to another person, and that will have meaning to that other person because there's a compatibility there. So it's about understanding this. And that's that part of having strength there, is about honoring what you're working with, honoring what holds meaning to you. We don't necessarily get to decide what we see as being valuable. I think for the most part, it's about us and our nature and what's compatible with that. And the better we can understand ourselves and what we need for something to be sustainable, for a relationship to be sustainable, you're going to more easily understand why relationships work or don't work, or how to fix things, or sometimes how to release things when they need to be released. or even how to edit things and be able to communicate that as well. Why is any of this important? Because ultimately it leads to the Ten of Pentacles, which is feeling like things are achieved and everything is sustainable from that point. Like it creates stability within your life. So without things being sustainable, there's going to be a lack of stability. If you want stability and if you want to feel like you are reaching conclusions where structures can become crystallized and solid because they work in that way and you actually want that to be happening, it's something that can be built upon here. Versus something that's not really working and you feel like it needs to change, something needs to happen. This allows things to ultimately get to a point of stabilization where it doesn't really need to be tweaked anymore because it functions well and you don't need to go and fix anything because nothing needs to be fixed anymore. So this is being on the lookout for that. And I think seeing anywhere where you may not have been aware of this. Also, too, you can be on the other end of this. There can be somebody that you feel like you're always making an effort for, and for some reason they're like always unsatisfied with it. That can be the feeling anyway of like, I'm showing up and I feel like I'm always making an effort with them and that they don't really recognize it. And it can be, again, like a compatibility issue. And this is about understanding that it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It can mean that there's not that compatibility there. And sometimes, too, it can be a matter of communication. We do have the Queen of Swords here, so maybe this is saying, like, hey, I'm recognizing that you're making this effort. For me, I need something more like this for that to hold weight for me. Otherwise, I'm feeling like I'm being neglected here, or I feel like my needs are not being met. Whatever needs would need to be met for something to be sustainable. And that can be different for each of us. So there's that honoring of the individuality within this as well. And then you can see that's where dialogue comes in. How can we work with this? Or is this just a situation where it's like, well, I don't want to show up like that, and then it's not going to work. So it's about putting the pieces together. I think understanding all of these parts so that stuff can move forward. Some of you, this is going to be a reconciling actually that will happen within a relationship or within different relationships that you have. With ultimately us leading and ending the spread with the Ten of Pentacles, I'd say that right now there can be a lot of discerning how to establish stability, lasting stability within your life. And I think that this is about lasting stability within relationships that you have. And this sort of being the way of doing that. And you can understand too that it's not normal to be feeling like this. It's not normal to be feeling overwhelmed, overburdened, stressed out. It means that you need to take a closer look at things, and it feels like this is what's happening. Saying, okay, I see that, I'm understanding this, I'm getting that this isn't normal, and that I need to take action in order to balance the scales. And something else too that's coming up is that if you're recognizing with strength, if you're recognizing the type of flower, the type of plant that you are, as much as you can say, I want to be happy with these certain conditions and be like fed or be able to like grow and live in these conditions. We can have things that we want it to be that way, but it's really going to depend on our nature as far as like what's sufficient. Like if you have a tropical plant that you're dropping in Alaska, is it really going to be able to live like that? And even if it can, are those really ideal conditions, and is it going to thrive? Or do we need to read the room here and honor the original nature in order to work from that point forward and build upon that, because this is feeling like you're not just a blank slate. Nobody is. You have these certain things, which it feels like strength is honoring these certain things, like the type that you are, at least in this incarnation, in this moment, right? So having this is about honoring that and then working from there to see, like, how do I thrive? So as much as we can say, like, I'm a tropical plant, you have to be in that type of environment with that type of sun and that type of moisture and that type of all of it in order to thrive, the nutrients. And if you have that plant and you drop it in the middle of Alaska and it's not thriving, it's not because there's something wrong with the plant. So I think it's also about understanding that too. It needs to be in the right environment. And I feel like strength is about seeing that and not misplacing it, like, I just, like, must be difficult, or that person just must never be happy with anything. It's not that. Things need to be in the environment that they need to be in order to thrive. And sometimes adaptations can be made, and sometimes too many adaptations, there's not going to be that thriving happening because there's not enough stability there. You can only, like, I think, change the nature of something so much. And this feels like getting back to the basis of that. And these are things that are being discovered as we move through these processes. And Queen of Swords is the part of you that's going to take a look at these things that are going on, to understand them, to look into the patterns and to make an assessment here, to understand, to break down the facets of these relationships, the inner workings of them, and then be able to move forward where things do get better. Where it's not feeling like I'm giving everything I can and it's still not enough. This is about moving forward where things come into a greater overall sense of balance and reciprocity. And seeing what we weren't seeing before, what we had been ignorant to, and what we had even been trying to force. And then feeling like we're in a position where we have nothing left. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.